I was diagnosed with a very rare cancer. From one day to another, my ex-husband found me in the bathroom. The tumor hemorrhaged, so it was the size of a watermelon.
Oh my wow.
And this is why I teach people now to listen to their body.
Well, what is incredible is when you said about the nurses taught you that. Mm-hmm. And to me, if you hadn't been in that hospital at that time, even with that probably specific nurse, your life wouldn't be on this trajectory.
I explain to people, for example, how I scan you. Because when I tell people that I'm capturing that light that comes out of your fingers, that's really, really cool.
So it starts with the scan.
Yes.
And then a healing from you.
Yes.
And then kind of homework.
Yes, we're all made of light. We're light beings, literally. That machine takes a picture of that discharge, and that's how it translates. I remember when I learned that, I'm like, oh my God, I was in tears. I was so fascinated because this is how powerful we are.
Welcome back to the SageFull Living Podcast. We're here with Carolina Williams. Welcome, Carolina. We're going to talk about energy hygiene, and you're going to share a little bit about your story and your background. So Carolina works in quantum energy. She's a quantum energy alchemist and a mindfulness educator, and she created a method called the Chi Shift Method. I can't wait to get in and learn more about that. So she's a quantum energy expert, a mindfulness educator, and she helps people reconnect with their inner wisdom, release emotional blocks, and realign their energy for lasting transformation. And we just worked with her. Is it BioField? BioWell machine. So I can't wait to tell you guys all about that and learn a little bit. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Susan. It's an honor, and it's been a little while that I've been wanting to meet you. So I am really grateful to be here.
I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so excited what we're going to get into. So let's start with your story. Maybe if you want to, even a little bit of your background professionally. And I know that you had a very big health trauma that propelled you to this work.
I was diagnosed with a very rare cancer. It's called gastrointestinal stromal tumor. I was just recently married. Actually, I just had started teaching in this amazing school in Texas. Life was really, really good. But I did know that there was something off emotionally. My relationship was starting to change. It was becoming abusive, and I could feel my body quickly react to that. And then from one day to another, my ex-husband found me in the bathroom, had fainted because the tumor hemorrhaged, so it was the size of a watermelon when I took it out.
Oh my wow.
Yeah. So at that point, they had been pressing on my organs. I was getting a lot of UTIs, and I was feeling off. Ended up from one day to another with a tumor extraction. It took them a while to find out what it was because it was a really rare cancer. So my life changed completely. And it was interesting because I went not only in survival mode, but I also went into, I guess it's my nature to always want to know the why. So questioning, why is this happening, but not from a victim place, but more from trying to find the source. I've always been a source and truth seeker. And that journey, I ended up teaching mindfulness to my students quickly because I was taught at the hospital by a nurse. They were practicing mindfulness-based stress reduction from John Kabat-Zinn at the hospital. And it was thanks to this nurse that I learned how to bring my anxiety down in 5 minutes through the breath. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And that's, I think, when my life professionally also changed. Because from being a second grade classroom teacher, I went into becoming more learning specialist and really specializing in teaching kids more about emotional intelligence and executive function skills and all these things. So, of course, everything changed after that.
There's so many nuggets in there. First of all, I want our audience to really listen to the fact you're the second person this week to tell me that they had an enormous tumor in their stomach.
Whoa.
Yeah, the other girl said my eye doctor, and she said to me, I just thought I was fat. Yeah. And she said, and hers was like, I don't know if it was a watermelon, but she said it was very big, let's say maybe a cantaloupe. Wow. So in here, you're saying it's the size of the watermelon. We have to start to really know our bodies. You really got to know your 100%. Body if something like that can be growing and it takes that long before you realize that.
Yeah. And I think for me was that I was very dissociated. Truly, I believe that my tumor probably started growing probably late teenage years. It's hard to tell because even the pathology doesn't go that far. And at the end, it doesn't really matter. But I know that it was connected to childhood trauma. And I was very dissociated from my body. So another thing that changed for me is the minute that I guess I got connected to my body completely, because pain, it's our biggest teacher, right? And our bodies are the wisest thing we have. And yes, I did have this moment like, how did I not know? The thing is, I also was going to doctors that were telling me, oh, you're bloated because you have UTIs. Oh, it's your kidneys, it's this, it's that. So I was getting misdiagnosed a lot. But at the same time, what you're saying is very true. I was so dissociated because of trauma that I wasn't reading my body. And also with trauma, you can become very resilient. And then the second that they took it out of my body, I think it was also fear that I'm like, okay, now I'm going to listen to it. And this is why I teach people now to listen to their body.
Yeah.
Because that definitely would have been a different story if I would have probably read that a long time before and not almost dying, because they gave me very little time to live after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, what is incredible is when you said about the nurses taught you that.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, if you hadn't been in that hospital at that time, even with that probably specific nurse, your life wouldn't be on this trajectory. So things are put in our path. And we've talked about this before in the podcast, is seeing the signs of what's being put in front of you for a reason.
Yeah.
I had read once, I think it was Donna Karan was designing hospital rooms, because that environment is so sterile and there's not a lot of healing personally that can be done when you're in such a sterile environment. But to hear that there's a hospital that is bringing in breathwork and mindfulness, I love this. I have created for an app called MediMind, and they sell their app to hospitals, and it's all medical-based meditation.
I knew also intuitively that it wasn't just for me, that I needed to go out and teach it and train for it, because I immediately trained in mindful schools after. It was like, I need to learn this. This is something that can obviously change people's lives. I just jumped into the wagon without even thinking about it.
So tell us about that, teaching mindfulness in a school, because we don't hear this a lot. And you're the second person I know has done this type of work. And it sounds like it's very specific schools that are allowing this in.
Yes.
Tell us about that experience.
It's not an easy thing to get into, because there's a lot of misconceptions, I will call them that, of what mindfulness is. And sometimes we put it in a box, right? So for me, it was a bit of there had to be a convincing period, right? Or just buy-in from administrators. But I think what helped me a lot is that they would see how it affected my life. Right at the end, we are the role models and examples of the things that we teach. If we're doing it well, I guess, and it wasn't always easy, because I'm extremely anxious. People ask me, why do you teach mindfulness? I always say, because I'm the least mindful person, I really teach what I need the most, because I need grounding, because I had to teach myself to breathe again. I'm a very anxious person. So I had to get into the school and say, listen, I have ADHD. I know how this helps me. Let me try it. And then I would try it. In this case with the school, I remember I did my first, I call it the Parent Academy. And I had 2 parents. And then that first session, those parents felt so amazing after that they invited more parents and ended up going to 13 schools in Plano. And the Parent Academy, I had to train other people. And then it wasn't just mindfulness. And it became like this resource or a community where people can help each other with other things. And teach parents how to learn English at the time too, because it was Texas. And we started developing this beautiful community that at the end had to do with mindfulness, but not what you think of mindfulness, but just being in a mindful community. Mindfulness is really just a way of life. It's not anything else than that. So you can incorporate it into any program.
It really is being mindful.
Yeah, without the double L, the one L. Yeah.
Living our life mindful, living our life consciously. It's being aware of how we're showing up.
Yeah.
It is self-awareness is really the biggest thing. And when you are out in the world, most people are not.
That's why I also used to use them as my guinea pigs, because they would model for me how it would look like not to judge anything that I was teaching, because they don't judge, they're present in what they're learning, even if they feel uncomfortable. And kids are very resilient too. So they would go home and, mommy, I wasn't crying today in the playground. And so those are the things that I feel that make a difference, is that knowing your audience, and especially in schools, you kind of have to be very creative on how to get into that space. And my dream is that this is taught everywhere, whether you want to call it breath work, whether you want to call it mindfulness, whether being present. At the end of the day is learning how to brushing your teeth. That makes sense.
No, what do you mean by that?
So when you're brushing your teeth, or you're looking at your sink right now, I really don't like doing dishes, right?
Right.
So if you are present in the moment and the brushing teeth, you're feeling the water, you're feeling the taste of your toothpaste, you're taking time to get it in your mouth because you want good hygiene, right? Then you're already practicing mindfulness. You're in the moment of you're washing dishes, you're feeling the warm water, the soap, you're connecting with it. It seems like weird that it's that simple, but it's that simple. You're
Pure
present.
presence.
Yes. So it's brushing your teeth,
Yeah.
or taking showers. This is why we get so many like messages and things in showers, is because we try to be hopefully present in there and you're connected to your body.
Yeah.
So then you get all these amazing epiphanies in the shower because you're practicing mindfulness.
And water is such cleansing and the running of emotions and everything. Yeah. My family constellations teacher, she does her intentions in the shower.
Yeah.
So you had this mass removed. You were exposed to mindfulness. You brought that into the classroom. But tell us more of your journey, because I know you had chemo for a very long time.
Yes.
And there's more things that led you to where you are now.
Yes. So I'm laughing just because you get to a point that you do that. It's like, oh my God, like I tell this story almost like it's like I'm watching a movie. I did 12 years of chemo. It was oral chemo. It wasn't the intravenous chemo, typical chemo. So it's a little bit less harsh, but I honestly can say that I have destroyed my body. But I also knew that I had to do it. I wish I would have taken a little shorter time, but again, everything happens for a reason.
What was it doing? Because the mass was now removed. So what was the chemo doing? Was there still cancerous cells?
So that's a really good question. So it's called adjuvant therapy because they took the tumor out. So technically I didn't have a tumor, but just is very tricky. You're never in remission. So it's one of those cancers that, depending on your mitotic rate, meaning, how fast your cells are reproducing and also how big the tumors are, you're either in high, moderate, or low risk. And I was very high because of the size of it. When you're in a high risk of, metastatic cancer, then they put you in usually high doses. That's the protocol even today.
So it doesn't spread.
So it doesn't come back in my case.
Okay.
Right? Because I don't have a tumor, but there's this high risk of metastatic cancer when it can come back anywhere. So I say that out loud, and it's like, I have, different theories about cures and things like that and timelines, because I think that we do have the ability to heal ourselves. So taking chemo for me was it was my security blanket for sure. That's why I think I did it for so long. I, let go of the idea of having my own biological children, and that's how my adoptive child came to me. So when I always look at it, I always been a plan B type of person because I kind of had to. But at the same time, all these things that were happening in the journey is what literally brought me here today with you in the space and what I do. And there's a mixture of gratitude, but also awareness of, how difficult it's been at the same time. I'm not an avoidant, so I really try to see things for what they are and the lessons that they teach you.
Right. Were you supposed to be on it for life, on the drug?
I was. And I decided after my divorce that I was going to go back to Bolivia. I'm originally from there, and work with a shaman who became my best friends too, who told me, you know what, you have a choice. He said, you had the power to get sick, to make your body sick, because I had to also come to grips with that. I made myself sick. You have the power to heal it, or to heal yourself. So it was something that, it was an aha moment of like, oh my God, yeah, I just need to transmute this. And that's what I did. And I got help from different areas there. I did so much work energetically, truly. That's what I did. It was really energy work, and with different tools that I was able to integrate that knowledge and heal myself.
Incredible. And how are you feeling now? How long have you been off of the medication?
I've been off the medication for a decade almost. Yeah, I know, right? I'm just realizing that. And then January 6th is going to be 20 years that I've been since the diagnosis.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Let's get into the last 10 years and energy hygiene. So you went back to Bolivia and got into the healing work, right? Into the shamanic work and looking at another side of healing. We've talked about this many times on the podcast, and this is what we're here is to show you that there are other alternatives to the Western world of medicine and healing and consciousness, and even the way we just travel through life.
Yes.
So you went to Bolivia and really did have your healing, and were able to change the trajectory of the cancer, but the cancer also changed the directory of your career and your life. So tell us what went on from there. how did you get into the
to the energy healing
Yeah.
space. So it's really interesting, right? Because I tried plant medicine, which opened the portal for me to do other work. And I started observing a lot, not only how I was reacting to the side effects, for example, of the chemo, which I'm extremely sensitive. I'm considered a hypersensitive person. Taking any drug or doing any type of work, I'm really reactive to it. So I'm like, okay, if the chemo is doing this to my body and supposedly helping me, but also killing all these other cells, and I would feel the side effects, right? I need something to help me counter that. My focus was to just not take it anymore eventually.
Did you hit a point, because you had said it had been 12 years? How did you come to that point?
I think it was because it was actually when I was in Bolivia. I mean, I'm a single mom at this point, and I'm working. I think I have a lot of energy in general. So I was working 70-hour weeks, and I was starting to deteriorate. My energy levels, my fatigue, the brain fog especially was horrible. Yes, I want to be cancer-free, but I want to be around for my kid. And my thyroid was acting out, my kidneys. So I had this intuitive feeling of like, if I'm not going to die from cancer, but I can definitely, die from something else, because I was not feeling well. It was getting worse. So that's why I was like, I needed to find something that at least helped me for the side effects. So at the beginning, it was more like something like holistic medicine for me was just an extra thing I was going to do. But then it became the other way around, which happens a lot when people that try holistic medicine. So I started with Reiki, and I had been exposed to Reiki when I was 16. So it was always in my field. It was coming back to me a lot. So I did Reiki in Texas funny enough, with a deacon. And then in Bolivia, I ended up finding a master who trained me as a master, because I'm like, okay, again, kind of the mindfulness, this is helping me, this is changing my life, I want to teach it, and I want to do it with other people. So, and then my dentist in Bolivia has a quantum technology center in Bolivia. The beginning was kind of underground. He's a dentist, and when I found he had this technology, I'm like, oh my God, like it was literally like an office behind his office, and he started doing the laser treatments, the acupuncture with the laser. It was just amazing, and I would immediately feel better. I would not be nauseous, or I would meet a burst of energy, and I'm like, okay, this is really cool. So then, while I was teaching, go constantly back into the teaching world, there was something inside of me that was telling me, you need to really dedicate your life doing this versus classrooms, and which was hard because, again, I thought I was a born teacher, right? So my body was changing, my consciousness was changing, my energy body was changing, and really taking me to that space, pulling me there.
What I love is that even in being sick, you found a tool that worked, and you brought it to your career, and you brought it to the kids.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's so beautiful. A lot of the times we don't do that. We don't take what we've learned and share it. And that's a true healer, is because what we want to do is help people heal themselves. Yeah. And that's what you've seen through this entire journey. So bravo, really beautiful.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I think for me, and I'm not going to lie, there's a selfish part of you that was like, okay, if I help others, I'm also helping myself, or I'm practicing. But truly where I feel now, looking back, it was coming from also, it's like I wanted for it to be purposeful. If I was going to die from this, I wanted to make a difference. It wasn't going to be for no reason. That's my personality. Yeah. Like there has to be purpose. I think it's that why behind of what I do, right? And because it was so powerful in my life that I'm like, how can I keep this to myself? The kids were so open to this, and it was nothing, it definitely wasn't harming anything. And even my kids on the spectrum, especially them, were very receptive, and I could just see the shift. And teachers would come like, oh my God, they're talking more, they're being more touchy-feely, what are you doing? And oh, we're just practicing math, right? And these kids are like,
math with a little sprinkle of breath work.
with breath work and other things. But funny enough, then they would end up sharing it with the parents, and so a lot of those parents were now wanting to know and learn themselves. So it would spread. It was very contagious. And it was really, truly when UM was offering free coaching classes to teachers. And I signed up for the classes. I'm like, oh my God, a lot of people would tell me, you're so good at, listening to people and coaching, which I wasn't. I was teaching, but you know what, that would be amazing to become a life coach and somehow incorporate the mindfulness. So I started doing that. I was part of the Deepak Chopra team for a bit after a retreat. And once you open the portal, it's really hard to close them. While I was doing the program, I went to a retreat. I gave myself a gift, birthday gift, to go to Chopra to Mexico, because I've always followed his work. in his 21-day challenges.
Yeah, that's what got me into meditation.
Yeah, I know. So I was like, okay, I need to meet this guy because I always liked just his teachings. And I ended up at the retreat and fell in love with him. And honestly, even more than him, his team was amazing. I met his daughter, and they were giving scholarships and other things for people to join their coaching program. So I ended up doing the 2-year Ayurveda teacher program. It has the mindfulness teaching, the meditation, like different areas.
So you studied Ayurveda as well. So food as well.
Yes,
wow,
I did. I did the
medicine.
whole thing. Yeah, I didn't. You don't become a practitioner, at least I don't know if now you probably do, but it was just like a teaching component of it. And again, I always go back to that, right, to the teaching. And I miss all of that. Again, opening that crazy portal I found about the BioWell during the retreat and before with Joe Dispenza's work. And I ended up really wanting that machine. And when I chose to do the machine, another thing happened that I was really kind of like straining my mindfulness, because I was doing a lot of mindfulness, but I always felt that I needed to combine it with something else. So now I had the planning for quantum technology, doing mindfulness. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening here? Like I felt like in my mind, like, how can I do that? And then we lost a student at the school to suicide. It was the first time it had ever happened in the community. So it was extremely impactful. And it was the second time it happened to me professionally. So I was like, oh my God, again, what can I do with this? We need to do something, need to somehow help the other kids. And I ended up inviting or trying to invite, because it didn't happen, monks to come to our school to do the mandala project, because I wanted the students to learn about impermanence or anything. That's such an impactful thing to watch.
Do you want to describe what that is?
Yeah. So mandala projects are monks come to the communities, and they do it a lot with schools actually in India, but they come to the States and they spend, sometimes it's up to 8 hours a day, usually 3 to 5 days, creating mandalas from chalk. They literally lay it out in these, I guess, wooden beds.
Let's take it back a step. What's a mandala?
So mandala is a representation of many things. Actually, mandalas carry a lot of energy in them and frequency. And mandalas are really symbols, and in Buddhism, they're symbols of really spiritual journeys for people. And that's why they're very personalized. Like usually there's not one mandala for one thing. In some paths of Buddhism there are, but usually mandalas are created for your own journey. And they're just beautiful and they're very artistic. But everything in a mandala has meaning, usually. And then mandalas are usually meant to help a person look at the interconnectedness of things. So that's what monks do, is they teach interconnectedness and impermanence, because when they do these mandalas on these wooden planks, they turn out the most amazing works of art, right? And they're colorful and beautiful. And then they pick them up and they go to the closest body of water and they toss it. It's really hard to watch that. It's like these monks have sat in there barefoot on their knees doing this work, and then they just let it go. And they have absolutely, they're so detached from it. You never see humans in spaces like that act that way.
Right.
Because that's what they mainly practice through meditation, is detachment. It's very powerful for kids to see that. And the kids freak out. I mean, they do. Like it's hard. It's not, it really does something to you, even your nervous system.
Yeah, to create an art project so beautiful and then just let it
like,
melt.
what do you mean? It's like, don't do it, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it served its purpose in the present moment. So for me, it was the most mindful thing too to bring to a school, is like, because you stand and watch it, right? It's an experience. I literally Googled monasteries in Miami and I started calling them. And the lady there's like, oh my God, we were thinking about bringing 5 monks from India, like in a couple of months, see if you get talk to your, head of schools, see if we can sponsor it. And I'm like, okay, I'm very focused and stubborn. And I did that. And they said, yes, let's do it, which was by itself. I'm like, how did that happen? They ended up inviting me to go to India to be in an audience with the Dalai Lama and stay there with their monks.
What?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly my right. I'm reading this email and I'm like, it's a wrong email. Like, you made a mistake. And she goes, no, that the owner was like, no, something told me you need to go. I'm like, I don't even practice Buddhism. Well, it's okay. You're a mindfulness teacher. You didn't learn this. Ended up going 3 months to the Himalayas at the Dalai Lama's monastery.
In Dharamsala.
And ended up living in like almost like they have these little like satellite monasteries around. So I ended up staying in one of them. And it was the most amazing. I mean, of course, listening to Dalai Lama's teachings, that was the most amazing thing. But just truly, more than meeting the Dalai Lama, for me, the most transformational part of it is that it was experiencing mindfulness in every single thing that I observed and I did, and bringing that back to the school. Because my promise was that I would bring it back. I think one of the funniest things that ever happened to me and most transformational too is one of the monks turned and asked me, well, what do you do in the States? And I said, I'm a mindfulness teacher, thinking that was so cool saying that. And 20 monks on the table started laughing at me at the same time. And I'm like literally, like my tears started coming down, like, oh my God. And not in a like making fun, but they were like kind of frazzling, like, what do you mean you teach mindfulness?
Because for them, it's innate.
Exactly. Like, you mean I have a program in school that's mindfulness? I'm like, yeah, it's so cool. They're like, how do you teach it? They were so confused. And I'm like, oh my God, they're so right. They of course practice meditation. That's a formal mindfulness practice, but truly to teach it, it really changed my perspective of that. But then again, they live in monasteries and in Dharamsala, India, so the environment is more conducive. But like I told you, the example of brushing your teeth, you don't even know that you're practicing mindfulness, but you are.
Right.
So that's where energy hygiene came about for me.
So let's get into that.
So, and it's funny because I had someone tell me, hygiene, it makes me feel like a dirty body. I'm like, yeah, exactly. It is a dirty energy body. We all have it. Some people have it more dirty than others. I think that when I call it hygiene, then you can make the relation of your body when it gets dirty, whether it's subtly or not. You're going to take a shower, you're going to wash your hair, hopefully brush your teeth every day. We should treat our energy body the same way. So how? Just being more mindful, grounding. There's things that you can do formally. There's things that you don't know that you're doing that help it. And this is why I love scanning people's energy field, because it can show you how clean your energy field is, or how much more does it need cleaning or tuning up or whatever it is.
So energy hygiene, I love that, because, when we think of hygiene, we think of cleaning. We think of, hygiene, I got to brush my teeth, I have to wash my face, I have to wash my hair, I have to clean my body, shave my legs. Energy. Your energy, what you give out, what people feel when you enter a room, that is your energy. That is what you're bringing. Well, if you're angry, that is your energy. If you're sad, that is going to be felt energetically through people. So let's talk about this machine. I actually think we should get it here. For the people that are going to be on video, let's do that. Let's get into the BioWell. We have it here.
This is the BioWell. My son calls it my boyfriend because I take it everywhere with me. And yes, I do keep it with me all the time.
Now, where is this from? Who created this?
So Dr. Korokov is a Russian, he's a quantum scientist who used to be a physician who wanted to bridge spirituality and science. Because in many countries, Russia and others in Europe, energy protocols are usually used first. And then you go to the doctor. It's just so amazing. That would be my goal on this planet. What he wanted to also do is help people see their biofield, so make the invisible visible for them. And that, like I was telling myself, is in your experience, it is very powerful, because now you see something, you see your biofield, and it literally tells you how much energy it has. It looks at your chakras, and it's a 24-page report that's really cool. But even that first 2 seconds with the relationship of your biofield makes you feel that now not only you're made of energy, but it's something that you need to take care of.
And this thing gives out so much information. There's so much to go through. We just did a reading for me before the podcast, and I was able to see the alignment of my chakras. I was able to see the energy of my organs. I was able to see my energy, how it is around me, and the different spots where maybe there's too much energy and maybe not enough energy. We looked at the balance between my masculine and my feminine energy, which is so fascinating to me. We all have masculine and feminine energy, and we all need masculine and feminine energy. And sometimes in life, we step into one of those more than the other. And as women, of course, men have the feminine energy, and it does not mean they're feminine, but maybe it means that they can identify their emotions better. Maybe they are just a little bit more aware in things that are in the feminine. It doesn't mean that they're acting feminine. For me, being a little bit more in my masculine, it's because I take care of a child and a house and my business all on my own. So I have to wear both hats. So I sometimes have to step into that masculine energy a little bit more. So that gave me the awareness of, where can I bring in more of my feminine and feel more feminine, or even things that are more feminine. So I find it really fascinating. And tell us more of how you work with this for your clients. So we did all this big report for me. What would be a first step, or what are the different things that you can help people with once they identify?
What I do is I use this as it's not a diagnostic tool, so it's not really for that, but truly to get more information. Because one of the things that they teach in functional medicine and even in Ayurveda and another, I'll call them wellness paths, it's important to find the source. So for example, I can tell you, and actually we're doing really well in the scan, right? But some people have a lot of things that are blocked, a lot of organs that have energy disbalance. And sometimes they're like me, like I wasn't aware that I was so sick. It's the same thing. And that's one of the things that I'm also very cognizant about. And one of my purposes is to prevent things, right? To use this as a preventative tool. So once a person comes, usually the things that come to me about are from I'm too stressed and overwhelmed, or I'm already having a lot of pain, or a lot of women come with hormonal issues, right? So now I'm like, okay, this is how your body is keeping the score and showing it, or how you're doing emotionally and mentally, or sometimes it's a trauma that's showing up, right? So now let's go into see what's really going on behind the scenes, and that's what this helps me. So you come, you get a scan. We talk, we have a consultation, and also I do have a questionnaire before. So I start putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and then I get in your field. The way I do that is what I call that energy or the she shift method. I call it a method because I used to, like kind of list everything that I did. And I realized that, okay, I'm using a lot of modalities here, from Reiki to cranial sacral work to, I have a lot of biofeedback devices. So I use the technology as well. I use hypnosis of, people give me permission. I do a lot of mindfulness while I'm doing that. And I do a lot of teaching while I'm doing the healing. So tell people, for example, 4-6 breath. Allows you to move the energy in the body. We do a body scan and tell them, okay, use this when you're stressed at night. So people always leave very empowered, hopefully, or at least if they learn one thing. Because the idea for me with energy work is something that didn't always happen to me, is that you go to these amazing healings and then you feel better, but then how do you keep it up is the trick. And people ask me all the time, so what do I do? And I give a lot of tools and homework and things like that, because that's where the energy hygiene comes in. If you do this every day, but there's simple exercises that you can do, and not even exercises, simple just habits that you start building that will bring your field into a space that then it finds what we call in the energy world homeostasis, right? It finds like this balance where it's not so hard to energize yourself, and you're not constantly depleting, because we live in a world that is constantly depleting us, whether it's our EMFs, because now we're always on our phones and things like that, or it's our thought itself, that it's usually our mind is the worst one with the depletion of energy. So those are the things that I start teaching people how to transmute energy so they live a life with good energy hygiene. And from there, you create everything in your life. That's what people don't realize, is that energy hygiene will literally change absolutely everything outside, because we create from frequency and vibration.
I love that it's not just a healing that you are offering. It's what we just said before, is you're teaching them to do it themselves.
Yeah.
So this is just another tool to learn to help heal yourself. So it starts with the scan.
Yes.
And then a healing from you.
Yes.
And then kind of homework.
Yes.
Right? Or sending them home with tools, a daily tool. It's like we brush our teeth, but we don't even think about brushing our teeth. So those things, even driving a car, you forget that you actually know how to drive a car.
Exactly.
We have to breathe. We forget that we actually have to breathe. And we breathe at a shallow level. But when you come conscious about your breath and you take a deep breath, you're changing the energy within your body. But we don't always do that. So it's bringing that mindful, because it's making them mindful of how they're showing up for themselves every day.
Exactly.
And bringing in that energy hygiene. I'm going to start using that. I'm going to start asking people, instead of how are you today, how is your energy hygiene?
Yes. And you'll be surprised how many people don't even know we're made of energy. Our science classes should start with that concept. I mean, they teach it in a different way. You have Einstein doing the E equals MC squared, which actually this machine comes from that formula, right? That's why it's called quantum technology. But it's the concept that it's very, very, very simple. This is why I explain to people, for example, how I scan you. Because when I tell people that I'm capturing that light that comes out of your fingers, that's really, really cool. It's the Kirlian effect. Like, we're all made of light. We're light beings, literally. That machine takes a picture of that discharge, and that's how it translates. I remember when I learned that, I'm like, oh my God, I was in tears. I was so fascinated because this is how powerful we are.
I read something the other day. It said we're so quick to believe 5G, right? And that we can use our computers, but people can't believe in energy.
Mm-hmm.
But so how can you believe that something like that is working remotely, that files can be sent and whatnot, but that you can't believe that we are transmitting energy and that you can feel it? I also read recently that there is a common link in people who become friends and that your brain knows it before you're even together because there's just a commonality of something, a pattern that's recognized from brain to brain.
Yeah, that's the entanglement. We meet people in our vibration. It's funny because when I started making the connection, like I was telling you, how am I going to do mindfulness? I'm going to do emotional intelligence. And it all is really goes together, because if I understand conceptually, you and I finally probably met at the same vibration and we're here. And then we can meet people in very low vibration too. Then there's a lot of understanding, I think, of what relationships mean. Like if I think of my ex-husband, when I started healing from that, there was all this concept of, okay, forgiveness, letting go of your past, even the cancer. Things in our life that bring us a lot of trauma and lessons. But what changed my concept of all of that, including my past and the cancer, was learning more about energy. Because now I understand that if I'm meeting someone in a low vibration, because I'm stuck in my trauma, because I haven't healed, then of course I'm going to have a person that's going to come and meet me in the space to either help me grow or pull me down. But then there's no victims there, right? There's no one that's better or worse. If you are meeting someone in your vibration, you are creating that. You're responsible of that. So when I teach about how powerful we are and how we can destroy and how we can build, what it creates in people is this now responsibility for their life. Because if you are totally responsible for what you're creating, whether we believe in destiny or not, that's another podcast. But I see it in the energy work that I do. The minute that people believe that they are creators, everything changes. And then we're not in victimhood anymore. We'll go from victimhood and creator. And it starts with understanding energy and vibration and frequency.
That's beautiful. It is really important. And that is a very hard thing to get people to understand. Most people are stuck in the victim of different things in our lives and can't take the accountability. So we're here to help people realize these things and come to these understandings in their life, is that you are a powerful creator and you can create your reality, good or bad. So look at your life, and if things are going in a way that it isn't good, where's your responsibility in it? It's accountability.
Yeah. It is accountability, responsibility, and also it is empowering to know. Like with the cancer, it was, I can get myself this sick and almost die from it, and I can also heal myself. All it is energy transmutation, emotional transmutation. Emotions are so powerful, right? But that has to be taught. That's why it's called emotional intelligence. One of the things I talk about is energy intelligence too.
That is incredible. I love hearing that, because emotional intelligence is something I hear all the time, and I've not heard someone say energy intelligence. So that is that awareness of your energy. Even if we are people are of a high vibration, our energy shifts all the time, and there are times that we can get down, and that can be felt, So it's keeping our energy clean. Anything else you want to share about the machine or about your method? I love that you created a method, and I see this with healers, and I've said this before in the podcast. You're going to find healers that are certified in a million different things, and it doesn't matter. You're not going to know that, because then they take all of that and create their own method, because of the fact that a lot of these tools are doing the same thing. They're energy tools, they're alignment tools. So why not have people that are combining all this stuff to create their own method? Do you want to talk a little bit more about the method?
Yes. And I did do it. Guilty as charged, have 6 million certifications. And it's like, and then because that also creates the space sometimes of, I'm not ready enough. I don't know enough. And what I started seeing this is why it was helpful for me to leave my profession and do this full time, because I needed to really get in it and collect data. And data not only from the BioWell, which is an amazing tool, by the way. I do a lot of that. I have a machine that I want to bring to your space, because it would be really cool, that I thought I had with me, that I can measure people's spaces, like that you connect to this.
Yeah.
It's called the Sputnik. Yeah. And I can come to each room.
Sputnik. Yeah.
That comes to each room, and I can see where there's more chaos, where you need to move things. So this is an amazing data collector as well. But the best data I think I've collected is obviously through the practice of being with people and seeing what works And I'm not going to say what doesn't, because that's the beautiful thing about energy work. If you trust yourself, you can't do wrong. You get what you need, but you have to trust that, right? So for me, creating the method was important because I was doing a lot of things, and people would ask me, so what are you going to do? And it was like, spend 30 minutes and trying to explain. I'm like, why am I doing that? Giving people knowledge, and they're coming from mind. What I need for them to do is drop into their heart and just surrender. I always have the disclaimer, like with my method, especially what I realize is that the first time I do it, a lot of people go into detox mode, right? When you want to clean your closet, what do you do first? First, you take your dirty old clothes out or dirty clothes out, and then you buy new and you put your new clothes in. The same thing. First time, I have to help a person realize that they have to let go, which is the hardest for people to do, because people want a magic pill. Am I going to feel better the first time? People always ask me that.
You feel like, no, you're probably going to feel worse.
Yeah. And I said, you might, and some people do because there are different stages, but a lot of times the first time is like your body will have what we call the energy flu after. Now it depends on how much homework they're doing after. That's a huge thing, how much water they're drinking. But with my method, I'm combining a lot of things. So like I said, Reiki and cranial cycle, I use a lot of technology because I've noticed how much technology kind of helps to get a little deeper even. It has that science component with it when, again, I can see, more of the data too. I've discovered with the data that the biggest problem that people have, truly the one problem that I think as a planet that we're suffering, is disconnection. So if you can connect to person, even if it's for 5 minutes a day, because then I give exercises after, like I said, then there's new information for their energy body. In that, oh my God, if I connect with myself, then not only I be more present, but also I'm creating from a higher vibration because it's immediate. So when people feel that boost, it's almost like now they have contrast. There they have the detox, now they have the up leveling of the energy. And it's so beautiful to feel that contrast because now you know what helps and what doesn't.
How many sessions do you usually see someone for?
I start with 3. Right? Just because it's like the first is a detox, the second one, we're raising vibration. Sometimes we still need a bit of a detox. And then the third one is we're going to integrate. Ideally, I like to see people for at least 6. And up to, I have people that come to me now for the whole time I've had the business for 3 years, whether it's for a tune-up or just because they feel that they're still learning. So everyone, it's almost like in a classroom, right? Some people, like I'm not good at math at all. It took me 12 years to learn math and I still struggle, versus other things I'm like, I got into and I'm really good at. So I do use people's strengths in order to help with the areas of weakness, because I find that people need less time with that when you do it that way. One of the things, especially when I went to Joseph Spence's retreat, because you notice they have a research team there, and they do so much research behind it, is that not only they're discovering, of course, what we call quantum entanglement and all these things, but they're also discovering the power of having a collective consciousness behind that. So that's why you have 2,000 people. Most of them are not healers, never try to heal a person in their life, that you've experienced, right? The coherence healings.
Yeah.
And all people are doing it. Truly what he's doing is a heart coherence exercise. And through that connection with your heart, let's see that both of us, we do right now heart math, our field is gonna get closer in a way. And then you and I can connect on a level that sometimes it's a little freaky. I can feel your heart and almost what you're feeling, and you can feel the same thing. And I'm like, how can we question that, how interconnected we are? We were talking about horses earlier, right? You just get close to an animal. Why do animals make most humans feel so much better? Because they don't judge. They have a beautiful, really big energy field, especially horses. So they help you in that process of healing and grounding. And people with anxiety, PTSD go to, right, horse or equine
therapy is huge. And they say that the horse, when it's coming up to you, it is actually reading your energy.
Oh, 100%. They're like BioWells. You're right. They said that I can also see it, right? There's some people, humans actually, that have the ability to see frequency. I've met many of them. And it's really cool because they're like walking, x-rays. And that's how amazing our brain is. So for me, when people ask me if this works, it doesn't work, I always tell people, try the little things and tell me how you feel. And that's your proof. And again, like I always tell people, it's definitely not going to harm you. Right. So why not give it a try?
Right. Is there just one little tip that you want to give to our audience that they can do at home?
Yes. Thank you for asking that question. So there's a new concept that I almost want to get a pad, the doctor pad, when I become a doctor, integrative medicine doctor. And it's my dream. I want to get one of those doctor pads. Just because I would love to start giving people the nature pill. It's a concept that was developed, I think, in Canada. Doctors now are giving the prescription of the nature pill. So what that means is you, for at least 20 minutes, because again, they've collected the data with us, in the same minimum of 20 minutes to up to whatever you want or can, you are outside in nature. And it's not just grounding, because that's actually an amazing thing to do, take your shoes off and be in nature, but it's also using your 5 senses, connecting with nature. So paying attention to your senses. If you go outside right now, for example, I hear your chimes, just kind of closing your eyes and what can I hear? What can I see in front of me? And there's just a lot of activities, right? 5 things you can hear, 4 things you can see, 3 things that I could probably taste if I wanted to, 2 things that I can smell. So just going through the 5 senses and really being in it. It's almost like the brushing your teeth concept. No phones, hopefully, right? No music. We're always in the gym. Like I've started taking my headphones off because sometimes it just gets you in your mind again. So just being present and watching how you feel. I like to put my hand on the heart. So the nature pill is just that. Some people also call it forest bathing now. Some people do the forest bathing. It's a little deeper than that because now you go into the forest, but you can literally do that in your backyard. Just 20 minutes of nature interaction mindfully.
I love that. And I love that name of it, the nature
Yeah,
pill.
right? It's really cool.
20 minutes in nature, people. And those of us that live in Florida,
we have no excuse.
No excuse. We have an opportunity year down. And please, no phone, no music. That's a big one right there, no music. Because I noticed a lot of the teenagers, it's constant. And the vibration of the music they listen to is so disruptive and not pleasant, being away from the music. And we were always looking for distraction. And music is a beautiful thing, but I love that being in the nature, you're not going to hear the birds or the crickets or whatever, and really being present to nature. So 20 minutes of presence in nature.
Yeah, that's good energy hygiene.
Yeah. And listen, if you can't do it every day, you do it a couple times a day. Those are the 2 times a day that you did it.
And if it's not, I always tell people, if you can't do 20, do 5. If it's a walk with your dog, it could be a 10-minute walk. It's how you do it more than the amount of time, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would love my days where I would walk without my phone with the dog, and I would do a walking meditation of picking a color and looking for that color. That is from a Buddhist monk, and it is a beautiful one because if you pick a color like pink, you're blown away by things that you see. You're like, I never noticed that spray paint of pink on the sidewalk. Or a flower, or maybe somebody's mailbox. And it's that presence awareness.
Yeah, monks are amazing. One of the things that would do walking meditations, and they would, every step, they would say, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Or like there was one that was French, merci, merci. It was just so cute. I was like, oh my God, because practicing gratitude is one of the most amazing things you can do too. Yeah. Authentically. Sometimes it's hard to be super authentic with that, but if you really bring that into your life, whether it's 3 things and writing them down. Now they have apps. They have tons of apps that, if you really want to get on your phone and that helps you, then do it. But even just thinking about it, I'm grateful for one thing. It's crazy what it does. When I measure that with the Bible, it's really cool. It opens the heart. And
I just hope that one day it can become accessible for everybody. That's the only thing with the functional medicine and the integrative medicine is that
insurance doesn't cover it.
Yeah, it's all out of pocket. So we pray for changes in our care system, and that this stuff becomes accessible to everyone, because functional medicine and integrated medicine, a lot of the stuff comes from nature. It's getting back to nature. There are so many medicines and plants that unfortunately the Western world has gone chemical, but I know that there are people in the world and people like us that are trying to bring that back, because there's so much that nature has given us that can help to heal us and help us to live more aligned lives.
Even if you go out and look at the sky, like there's exercise in mindfulness where you look at clouds. It's like, really? I'm going to look at clouds? Do it for 2 minutes, you're in a trance.
I have pictures on my phone of the clouds that I just took the other day.
You're my soul sister. I knew it.
Living in Florida, for some reason, the cloud patterns here are spectacular.
Yeah, they are.
There's something to do with the airflow that we do get these really amazing clouds. And where I live, where I'm going over a bridge, and there's this big sky in front of me. So I'm always very aware of the clouds here in Florida.
See?
Well, amazing. Is there anything else we want to cover before we finish up? Anything else you want to make sure to get out there?
I guess the last thing I say is that whatever you do, however you do it, there's no wrong way as long as you're feeling connected to yourself, to others, to the planet, to the people around you. I would ask myself right now 2 questions. One is, am I truly here? Am I truly connected to myself? And the other one is, what energizes me and what depletes me. I live my life without question. Like, is this depleting me? Is this energizing me? That's my compass.
I love
And
that.
then discernment comes in quicker.
So when you say, am I connected? All right. Explain that to our audience.
If you're really listening to your body, that's called wisdom of the body, right? Are you really connected to your body, where actually pain being your biggest teacher, that you know where your blockages are? Believe it or not, one of the things that people can tell me very quickly when I'm doing the energy shift method is because I get them they connect to their heart and to their body, is they can tell me where the emotion is being held immediately, which is weird because I'm like, usually when you ask a person consciously and without the work or the awareness, sometimes the people have a very hard time even recognizing emotions. By the way, there's a website called the Atlas of Emotions created by the Dalai Lama and a psychologist. It has more than 400 emotions, and it tells you the frequency, what it means, how it feels like. It's amazing. So
we're going to put that in the show
connected.
notes, and
I
am going to look that up because
it's amazing. It's changed my life.
We've said this on the podcast before. One of the issues that people go through is that they don't know how to identify emotions.
Yes.
And a lot of people that have gone through a trauma, they have a hard time identifying.
Yeah,
emotions.
because usually the one that shows up is anger, for example, right? So 2 ways you know you're connected, or many ways, but the main ones is, are you connected to your body so you can feel where tension is? And like right now, I'm feeling a little bit on my left hip, and I have been lately. That's my feminine side, right? So I'm actually working with that because I'm very masculine like you because of what I do. So it shows up immediately. Our body teaches us constantly. Every morning, if you're having neck pain, we blame it on the pillow. Well, you're not supposed to be feeling pain from a pillow. Not to worry too much what it means, because that takes a while, but at least to be aware of where do I have tension. And now with AI, you can look it up. What does the right neck mean? And it will tell you. So there's an emotional connection and an energetic connection. So number 1 is, are you connected to your body? Number 2, are you connected to your heart? And our heart is our first brain, is our emotional brain. If you're connected to your heart and you're feeling emotion, if you can't identify because there's 400 of them, at least know that there's something there that needs to be released. And when you ask your heart to tell you, I literally will ask my heart, what am I feeling? Or what are you feeling? And it will tell me. Sometimes it's just anger all the time. And then I'm like, okay, no, what's underneath it? And then it's crazy how it starts showing up. And there needs to be that emotional intelligence component. But some people that can't express it, at least there's awareness that something needs to be released. That's connection. Just identifying your pain points, whether emotionally, mentally, or physically, so you can release whatever needs to be released. So connection doesn't always feel good. That's why we disconnect, especially people with trauma.
Right. So yeah. I love that. Like, not just being connected doesn't have to be a positive thing. It's the awareness of knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The more uncomfortable you feel, the better. It's growing pains. That's what I call them. Right.
I injure myself all the time, and people are always like, ooh, ooh. And I say that pain makes me know I'm alive.
Yeah, 100%. It was thanks to me literally fainting from the pain, because that's what I still sometimes almost can feel it again because it was so horrible. I mean, imagine this tumor that's like pressing into your body. It was only like an entity. I should have named the thing, right? It was 8 pounds.
Wow.
Of me, and I'm 4'11", right? It's like it was huge.
Full birth child.
And if it wasn't of that pain that I felt, definitely like I've never given birth, but I can only compare it to that. I would have never known what it was. I would have probably lived with it for a little longer and literally died. So embrace the pain, whether it's emotional or physical, because it's there to teach you.
So here on the podcast, we love to ask our guests, what are your daily practices to keep you aligned?
Whoa, that's a really good question. I always teach what I need. So I actually time block in my calendar now when I'm going to practice my energy hygiene. There's 2 things that are non-negotiable for me. One is my meditation every day. I meditate an hour every day. Also doing what in mindfulness we call, it's just mindful meditation, which is really do it quietly in silence. And it's extremely hard for some of us with a little mind, but it's powerful. So I meditate every day an hour. The other thing I do for good energy hygiene is I take salt baths every day because it releases the energy from the spine, like I was telling you earlier. But in there, they have these notepads now for the showers.
No way.
Yes, genius. So I do my gratitude practice in there. I have my Ayurvedic massages that I do also every day. I do it in 5 minutes. It will take hours in doing it, but literally you just do something to your body, because since I've experienced a lot of trauma, especially in my body, I've had to connect with it. So for me, massaging and the Ayurvedic massages that you do. Those are my non-negotiables. My massages, my salt baths, my meditation, and my 20-minute walk.
Thank you so much for being here.
God, Susan, it's
Thank
been
you for the
awesome.
work that you're doing. Thank you for sharing your
having me.
story. And we'll have in the show notes where to find her. If you want to book a healing, you'll get 10% off. Just mention the SageFull Living Podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Thanks, honey.
Aw, this is so awesome.